I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I would consider optioning the new 2025 Infiniti QX60 Luxe in this majestic white. I'm Anthony from Hawkeye Rides, and to give a little history of the QX60, it came out back in 2014. The second generation back in 2022, which dropped the CVT transmission, which everybody was complaining about, but it had a V6, which they upped the horsepower back in 2017. In 2018, they dropped the hybrid powertrain with some styling updates. Then in 2021, they dropped the QX60 for the full refresh, giving us what we have today, except now they've dropped the V6 engine. Up front is going to have LED headlights and daytime runnings. It goes into the enlarged grille with the new spiral effect, Infiniti badging, going into the fake air intake, front parking sensors with a 360-degree reverse camera that starts on the Luxe. When you go into the Pure, it's a reverse camera. The lower, you're going to have the same color in the center as the rear, and changing the color palette on the exterior can also change this, as well as going up trims. There's 4 different trims to choose from. You got the Pure, the Luxury or Luxe, Sensory, and Autograph. Underneath the hood is going to have the same powertrain on all 4 trims, which is a 2.0-liter VC turbocharged 4-cylinder producing 268 horsepower. Now that's down 27 horsepower from the V6 we lost, which is a big con to me. But then in torque, we're up 286 pound-feet, which is 14 pound-feet more than the outgoing V6. Same towing capabilities as long as you option the all-wheel drive, and this is a front-wheel drive. We're going to be achieving 22 mpgs for the city and 28 mpgs for the highway. Funny thing though is they dropped the hybrid, which used to get great mpgs. This is only getting 1 and 2 mpgs more than that V6 engine in a front-wheel drive configuration. Standard is an 18-inch wheel. The Luxe receives the 20-inch, as well as the Sensory, and the Autograph will have a unique wheel design with the matte black that's going to surround the fenders, and going into the lower skirt, the Infiniti badging, which will go up into chrome when you get into the Autograph, and you'll have the 2-tone. The different wheel design and the 2-tone is really the only way you can distinguish the difference between this trim and that trim, which they don't have any badges on any of them. Kind of wish they did. Standard pano moonroof that goes into the second row. When you're starting to think about rivals, you get a lot more standard amenities when you go Infiniti, which is definitely a pro. More towing capabilities than the majority of the competition, like Volvo, Lexus, Acura. But then when you're thinking performance, it's the least in class with horsepower and torque. And if you're considering the German rivals, this is a steal. It's not going to be as performance oriented, even though the compression ratio to this goes down to 8.1 and up to 14.1, which gives you optimal MPGs, or it can feel like a V6. But then when I'm thinking, why didn't we just tweak the V6 and give a hybrid? This is where I question if I will ever buy another QX60, because I've bought 3 of them. I like the V6 engine, and I like that we now have a 9-speed automatic transmission, which is the same to this. And it's also going to be quite interesting with this VC turbo engine, because typically it's with a CVT transmission. So we just finally got the vehicle that was what Infiniti needed, non-CVT, V6 naturally aspirated, and now we're going turbocharged that has a additional pulley that helps with the compression ratio, but then they're pairing it to that 9-speed automatic transmission. Just a little funny. Standard LED taillights that pretty much spin across nearly the whole rear with the Infiniti script. The lower is going to have the dual fake exhaust outlets in black, so it's going to mimic the front. And when we're going back to the competition, Infiniti's a sweet spot for pricing for a all-round package, because it is the least in class for luxury. If you want performance, even going against competitors like Lexus, Mazda, Acura, you're gonna have to go into the Germans, in which you're gonna spend 15 to 20 grand more to get something that has similar specs to this, just to add a little bit more of a sporty drive, which the VC turbocharged engine is known to give that wow factor. So let's see how it is in performance. Power liftgate, which is on all trims. Motion starts on the Sensory. Get a 12-volt charger. Underneath the floor is going to have dividers with storage. The spare tire is going to be tucked underneath, with cargo starting at 14.5 cubic feet. And you can power fold these third row seats down on the Sensory. That will increase cargo to 41.6 cubic feet. But unfortunately, you do have to go inside to increase the max cargo at 75.6 cubic feet. They'll fold down flat, so it makes it an easy load at a 60-40 split. 12-way power seat adjustment for the driver and passenger, heated and ventilated front seats. Massage seats start on the sensory, memory for the driver and passenger starts on the sensory trim. The QX60 has plenty of headroom and leg room for a mid-size third row SUV. It is going to be driver focused with a 12.3 information display in the center. We have wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, Sirius XM, AM, FM, streaming Bluetooth audio. This will not have the same Google interface as the new QX80. Put it into reverse with a 360-degree reverse camera, full trajectory for the front and the rear, and you can change different camera layouts to make it a little bit easier for your reverse. The Pure will just have a reverse camera, and you're not going to have the 360-degree camera, meaning you can go all around the vehicle like the new QX80. No digital rear view mirror, that starts on the sensory. A large pano that goes to the first and second row, that's standard on all trims. 17 speakers is now standard on this trim going up. That's the Bose Performance sound system. Otherwise, it's going to be 9 speakers on the Pure. Heads-up display only on the Autograph. Tri-climate control settings is standard with a standard wireless charging pad. And we're going to show you the new key fob, comparing it to the old key fob. I think it looks a little bit more sporty, a little bit more luxurious, kind of giving you that BMW vibe. You have the rotary knob here, so you can do everything for your infotainment screen, as well as some actual quick tabs here. The Razor, that was implemented a few years back, a pass-through with a 12 volt. It's going to be soft to touch, opens up into a deep storage pocket with card holders, 12 volt, pin holder, and more card holders. Leather wrap steering wheel is standard on all trims. Heated starts on this one, multi-function with paddle shifts, and the gauge cluster is a 12.3 digital reader that can go through an array of information for the driver, except you will not see the navigation. It'll just be turn-by-turn navigation. You can change the meter view to make it look a little bit more stylish and desirable for whoever likes it this way, with the aluminum inlays and the gloss black that goes through the center of the dash, just to kind of iron it out. The door panel is going to have soft materials everywhere. One touch up and down for all the windows with a long storage pocket and a beverage holder carved out. For the back seats, headroom and leg room. Because this is a bench, you can move it forward and backwards. You can also recline these seats, and it gives you that additional center seat opposed to the captain seats, which is standard on the Autograph. Third climate control, heated rear seats, USB ports, cup holders with armrests, and the door has the manual sunshades as well as air vents in the ceiling, and the door itself is going to have the same segment except a smaller storage pocket, soft materials found throughout, and they keep the same aluminum mesh inlay. Sliding into the center, the floor is more or less flat, except you have this area here that pushes up more, so it does push your feet up a little bit, and it kind of makes it where you have a lot of open space here. Leg, butt, shoulder space, not going to be an issue if you choose this over the captain seat. Headroom, you can actually do it. I'm at 6'3". Going into the back, push the button, slides forward easy enough, and you got room for 2 more to sit with USB ports, cup holders that's going to be on one side. The Autograph sensory gets it on both sides. Headroom is not necessarily an issue, even though it kind of contours inwards. As for leg space, it's going to be a little bit more cramped, especially if the seat's all the way back and you got a little storage area right here. The vc-turbocharge 4-cylinder with 268 horsepower, but the torque is where it's at 286 pound-feet. Look at this thing go. She gets up to speed quick. You're going to get a little bit of tire spinach because this is the front wheel drive variant, and it's not as heavy, this engine, compared to that V6 engine. You will hit a higher RPM, which is normal for this because of the compression ratio and the weight to the vehicle, and it's a 9-speed instead of CVT transmission. There's a lot of ands to it. But ultimately, this was one of the most unique engines of its kind when it debuted, because it can feel like a Turbo 4 in the sense of MPGs, and it can feel like a V6 that's naturally aspirated with power. But unfortunately, it's not a naturally aspirated vehicle, which is a con to me. I would have preferred just to have a hybrid trim so you have two different engine options instead of keeping it standard. Infiniti likes to go easier than most brands in the sense of just giving you one power option for all 4 trims and optioning a front wheel or all-wheel drive configuration. But in day out traffic, you're not going to really notice much of a difference, especially if somebody's in the wrong lane and you can't even go the speed. But when you need to mash on the gas, the turbo does speed up pretty quick. Does it feel faster than the V6? It does. It has a little bit more excitement to it. The exhaust note isn't the most pleasant, but the sound deadening is pretty good. The ride is going to be a little bit rigid. They also choose to have a larger wheel, meaning 20-inch. If you go into the Pure, it's going to be a little bit more composed, but all the suspension layout's the same. They don't option anything like an air suspension or an adaptive suspension or even soft closed doors, which I wouldn't necessarily expect that at a top price that's going to be around $66,000, especially when you're considering the rival perspective. All the variants are going to go into a higher dollar amount, even when you're going into the top tiers. Now, the major difference though is they offer different power options, and to show you what I mean by it, the lag, it's going to be really at about 2.5 to near 3 RPM before the car actually takes off. And you're going to be hitting 3 RPM more so than not, especially to stay up with traffic flow. But on the Pro, you keep the same towing, the same payload, but then on the Con, we're not receiving the upgraded tech that's in the new QX80. I like that we now have a black edition, which starts on the Luxe, because now you get the blacked out aesthetics on the exterior. Finally, Infiniti is starting to listen to reviewers and customers, because a lot of people in North America, we just want chrome delete. Give us that sporty look. I get it, the gloss black, I'm not a huge fan of it in the interior, but instead of the chrome aesthetics, at least satin aluminum or something a little bit different and unique. They're finally implementing that for 2025, so you no longer have to get a chrome delete like I had to do for my 2023. And the last reason why I would choose this over the rivals is because it is still a practical family luxury SUV. You can option the Luxe or the Sensory, and you're going to be happy with either of the two. I'm just somebody that likes the Autograph the most because I enjoy having all the features, and looking at the rivals, still there isn't a vehicle that can compete in pricing for this luxury segment unless you want to spend more money. But let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. Check out the next video, merchandise, website, and Instagram. Leave a comment and a like, and I'd like to thank Infiniti of Clearwater for giving us this 2025 Infiniti QX60 for our car review.